Hi, I'm Bella. When I was 40, I was convinced I had early-onset Alzheimer's. I was standing in my kitchen, staring at the counter, and had no idea what I was doing there. And not the few seconds of normal, wait, what am I even doing here, that we all do. No, for several minutes. My grandmother had Alzheimer's. It started in her early 60s, and my father showed signs in his 70s. And here I was, right after my 40th birthday, forgetting the name of people I knew my entire life, losing words mid-sentence, walking into work meetings with absolutely no memory what they were about. Couldn't stay focused on anything for more than a couple minutes. I went to my doctor. She said, it's hormones. Perimenopause, that's normal. She offered me HRT and I took it. And some symptoms improved. The hot flashes disappeared and my sleep got a little bit better. But the brain fog, the memory loss, that terrifying feeling that my mind was slipping away, they didn't get better. In fact, they got worse. And in this video, I'm going to tell you what I discovered. Something nobody was talking about. Not my doctors, not my therapists, not anybody. Because what I learned is that perimenopause is not just about declining hormones. It's actually about what happens when these hormones can no longer mask decades of unprocessed trauma. And if you've experienced brain fog, memory loss, or the terrifying feeling that you are losing your mind during perimenopause, if you've ever said, I don't feel like myself anymore, I think this is going to help. So let's dive in. Here's what my doctor learned in medical school about perimenopause and cognitive symptoms. Declining estrogen affects the hippocampus, which can cause memory issues and brain fog. This is temporary and can be addressed with hormone replacement therapy. That's it. End of lesson. About 8 hours total of menopause education during 4 years of medical school. Most of it focused on hot flashes and cardiovascular health. 0 hours on the anxiety, the memory loss, the brain fog. 0 hours on the identity crisis. 0 hours on the trauma connection. Now, my doctor wasn't wrong. Estrogen does affect the hippocampus. HRT might help with some symptoms. But here's what she didn't learn. For almost 30 years, estrogen has been doing far more than just regulating my menstrual cycle. It's been helping me managing a dysregulated nervous system that I even knew that I had. Let me explain what I mean. Estrogen doesn't just control your period. It's deeply involved in your brain chemistry. It supports serotonin production. That's your mood, your appetite regulation, your ability to feel okay. It affects dopamine function. That's your focus, your motivation, your ability to feel pleasure in things. It regulates your HPA axis. That's your entire stress hormone system, how your body responds to threat. And it supports your prefrontal cortex. That's your emotional regulation, your ability to stay calm under pressure. So when estrogen starts declining in perimenopause, it's not just about hot flashes. Your entire emotional and cognitive regulation system is shifting. And if you do have an underlying nervous system dysregulation, which most of us do if we experienced any kind of stress or trauma in our childhood, that decline of estrogen removes the buffer you have been relying on without even knowing it. That's what was happening to me, and no one explained it. Let me tell you what I experienced, because I want you to know that you're not alone if any of this sounds familiar to you. The brain fog. And this was not just, I don't remember where I put my keys, brain fog. This was, I forgot my partner's name mid-conversation, brain fog. I read the same email 5 times and couldn't tell you what it was about. That kind of brain fog. I'd built a successful career on top of being sharp and organized, on top of everything. And suddenly, I couldn't hold a thought for more than 30 seconds. The rage. I was never an angry person. I used to be the rational one, the troubleshooter, the one who mediated conflicts, the one people relied on. But then all of a sudden, I screamed at my partner for breathing too loudly. I threw my car keys across the room because I couldn't find my sunglasses, while they actually were on my head. I had to pull over while driving because the rage was so intense I couldn't see straight. The sugar cravings. I've been a healthy eater my entire life. Lots of veggies, whole foods, everything organic. I never had a sweet tooth. Suddenly, I was eating Ben& Jerry's ice cream right out of the box in the middle of the night, like a pint or two. Secret eating. Binge restrict cycles I've never experienced before. The exhaustion. Not, I need a nap, tired. This was, I cannot lift my head off the pillow, tired. I have to cancel everything because just existing feels too much and too exhausting, kind of tired. The anxiety, panic attacks at 3 a.m., waking up with my heart racing, convinced something terrible was about to happen. Essential dread that felt like drowning. And the identity crisis. Looking in the mirror and not recognizing myself. Feeling like I lost the person I used to be. Wondering if I will ever feel like myself again. Doctors have a name for this. IDFLM. I don't feel like myself. And it's a number one most reported symptom in early perimenopause. But nobody connected these symptoms. Not my doctor, not my therapist, not my nutritionist. Everybody treated them as separate issues. And it didn't work. The brain fog was hormones, the rage was stress, the sugar cravings were willpower, the anxiety was what much needed therapy work. Until I figured out they were not separated at all. They were all connected. Here's what changed everything for me. I started researching the connection between early childhood trauma and chronic illness. Dr. Gabor Mate's work, Dr. Bessel van der Kolk's research on trauma, the ACE studies, adverse childhood experiences, and more. And I found this. Women who experienced early childhood trauma have significantly worse perimenopausal symptoms, especially emotional and cognitive symptoms. And not just a little worse, dramatically worse. Why? Because trauma dysregulates your nervous system. Now, when I say trauma, I'm not just talking about major traumatic events. I'm talking about chronic emotional stress as a child, a critical parent, emotional neglect, having to be the strong one in your family, getting bullied, learning that your needs don't matter, being praised for not having needs at all. When you experience that kind of environment, your body adapts. It creates survival strategies like hypervigilance, always scanning for danger, fawning, people pleasing to stay safe, freezing, shutting down your emotions because they just weren't safe to feel. Self abandonment, learning that your needs don't matter, that you exist to care for others. These strategies kept you safe as a child, but they dysregulated your nervous system. And for decades, your body compensated. How? Your hormones, especially estrogen and progesterone. These hormones don't just regulate your cycle, they regulate your entire stress response system. For around 30 years, those hormones helped you push through exhaustion, suppress difficult emotions, stay focused despite overwhelm, keep functioning through trauma, maintain the strong woman mask. You didn't know you were relying on them, but you were. And then perimenopause hits. Your estrogen starts declining. And suddenly you don't have this biochemical buffer anymore. The nervous system dysregulation that you have been unconsciously managing for decades, it floods your system. That's why the brain fog isn't just about hormones. It's your brain trying to manage hormonal changes. Plus, daily life, plus 40 years of suppressed trauma and unwanted emotions all at once. The rage isn't just hormones either. It's decades of suppressed anger that finally finds space to exist. The sugar cravings aren't willpower issues. It's your dysregulated nervous system desperately seeking relief through the fastest dopamine and serotonin hit it can possibly find. The memory loss isn't dementia. It's an overwhelmed hippocampus trying to handle way too much at once. The anxiety isn't just stress. It's your body finally feeling safe enough to process what it couldn't process before. And the identity crisis? That's not a midlife crisis. That's your authentic self finally emerging from behind that mask that you have been wearing your entire life. They are all connected. They are all connected. And until someone explains that connection, you keep thinking you're just falling apart, or are broken, or losing your mind. But you're not. You are in the middle of a massive neurological, emotional, and hormonal transition. And you deserve to understand what's actually happening. And this explains why my HRT helped my hot flashes, but nothing else. Why therapy helped me processing emotions, but didn't explain the rage. And why supplements didn't do anything to me at all. HRT replaces the hormones, but it doesn't heal the dysregulated nervous system. It doesn't process the unresolved trauma. It doesn't regulate the stress response. It doesn't address the root cause. So you might get some relief, but no transformation. Therapy processes the trauma, but it doesn't understand the hormonal amplification. It doesn't address the biochemical chaos. And it doesn't explain why all of this is happening now. It doesn't connect the physical symptoms to the emotional ones. So you might make progress, but symptoms persist. You need both. The hormonal understanding, trauma healing, the nervous system regulation, and the metabolic support. All of it together. That's what nobody was teaching me. That's what I had to figure out on my own. But once I understood the connection, everything changed. I stopped thinking I was broken. I stopped blaming myself for not healing fast enough. I stopped thinking my symptoms were separate, random issues that I had to fix one by one. And I finally understood my body wasn't betraying me. It was trying to heal. And my symptoms were not failure. They were communication. My brain fog wasn't dementia, it was overwhelm. My rage wasn't a character flaw. It was suppressed emotion that finally found its space. My sugar cravings weren't weakness. It was my nervous system screaming for relief. And not feeling like myself? That wasn't loss. That was emergence. The woman I have been performing as my entire life. The strong woman, the one who never needed help. The one who could handle anything. She never was my authentic self. She was a survival strategy. And perimenopause was dismantling that strategy. So my real self could finally exist. And after a while, the brain fog lifted. Not overnight, but constantly, consistently with the right support and an holistic approach. The rage became manageable. I learned it was communication and not chaos. The sugar cravings disappeared because I regulated my nervous system and it felt finally safe. The memory loss improved as I finally started to manage things one by one. And the anxiety lessened as I addressed the root trauma. And not feeling like myself anymore transformed into I finally feel myself, maybe for the very first time in my life. This is what's possible when you address the root cause instead of managing symptoms. That's sustainable transformation. I spent years figuring this out, reading research papers, training in trauma-informed modalities, working with my own nervous system, connecting dots nobody else connected. And I kept thinking, how many women are going through this right now, thinking they are losing their minds? So I created a mini course called I Don't Feel Like Myself, the hidden connection between your symptoms and your past. It explains what's actually happening when all these random symptoms appear, why your symptoms showed up in your specific pattern, and how to heal the root cause, not just manage symptoms. It includes a one-on-one call with me where we map your individual pattern together, 6 to 8 short video lessons, downloadable journal and worksheets, access to a private Facebook community, and lots of tools and exercises that I use to save for my one-on-one clients exclusively. And the investment is just $27. Because I remember very well how it felt to think I was losing my mind. And I don't want you to stay in this kind of situation any longer. The link is in the description of this video. You are not broken. You are not losing your mind. You're in transformation. You deserve to know what's happening and understand it. If this video resonated with you, please share it with any woman who might need to get, because the more we talk about it, the less alone we feel in this. Thanks for watching. I see you in the next video.